Good morning. We said you're not going to believe this Nancy Pelosi clip. I think you should take it and run with it. What do you think? Good morning.
Good morning. It's probably one of the most bizarre clips I've seen in a while. I don't know, between Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and say John Fetterman, I don't know which one is worst. They are all incoherent when asked very simple questions. So let me set up this video clip for you. It's about 20 seconds long, and it shows Fox News reporter Hillary Vaughn tracking down Nancy Pelosi in the halls of Congress to ask her a legitimate question about, by the way, quite possibly one of the biggest scandals in the history of American presidential politics, Joe Biden's corrupt influence peddling scheme. But instead of answering the question, Pelosi pivots and mumbles something about saving women from the Republicans. Watch.
If the president says he never talked about business,
they have work to do to save women from a very destructive Republican Party in this House. You should be worried about that.
Does any of this bother you, Speaker Pelosi?
Thank you. What bothers me are the Republicans standing in the way of your reproductive freedom.
So a journalist asks a legitimate question about an incredibly serious topic, and she somehow ends up getting scolded by a high-ranking Democrat that the only thing she should be worried about is, quote, destructive Republicans standing in the way of her reproductive freedom. First of all, the former speaker may not know this, but I don't think that reporter is worried about her reproductive freedom. She literally just had a baby with her husband, who also happens to be a journalist at Fox News. Secondly, what a sexist response. Would Nancy Pelosi say that to a male reporter? But as bizarre as it was, it does highlight the Democrat playbook heading into 2024. You know, Democrats virtually have nothing to run on. They see abortion as one of their only winning issues right now as they look to retake the House next year. So this awkward exchange between Pelosi and this female reporter is really perhaps just a preview of what's to come over the next 16 months. And in fact, a Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee chairwoman, Suzanne Dalbene, she has admitted this will be their strategy in 2024. She told NBC News recently, quote, this extremism, keyword there, across the country on reproductive freedoms will cost Republicans the House majority. So this is absolutely going to be the Democrat playbook heading into 2024. And as far as they're concerned, it's worked well for them. When you look at the midterms in 2022, according to an ad tracking firm called Ad Impact, in the month before the election last year, in October, as congressional candidates were kind of making their closing arguments to voters, just 1% of GOP ads in House races mentioned abortion. Contrast that with Democrats, who had 41% of their ads mention abortion in those final weeks before the election last year. So expect to see an onslaught of ads over the next 16 months over abortion, and expect to see a whole lot of that. Talking heads and politicians pivoting back to abortion whenever they're asked about a serious issue.
I would think 41% of the ads would be about the economy or inflation, but go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Just distract. I mean, I feel like we're watching people in a nursing home. I'm watching them lead Nancy Pelosi into this elevator, and she's scolding this young woman. And it's just like, again, that parroted narrative, like, when all else fails and you can't answer the question, go to the default and remember what you know. What do you know about? I know about abortion. I'm going to yell at this lady. Like, that's to me what I saw in that scene.
And I also saw what you said, Carolyn, about it being sexist. And I wondered what you both thought as women, which is, I feel like if a male politician had told Hillary Vaughn, well, you as a woman should think this way, it would be sexist. And it is. Like she's asking a legitimate question about Biden's bribes. And instead, it's like, no, little girl, you should be talking about your reproductive freedom. I'm standing for it. And as if
I know better than you do.
You should tell Hillary you know more than this woman does about what matters to her. And that's her story that day as a journalist. And she has a right to ask that question. But I wonder what you think, Carol.
No, I mean, and I think that's the exact sentiment. And she makes such and not just her, a lot of them. Barack Obama was a master at this, where they make such a mockery of the issues at hand. And they keep taking it back and just so condescendingly into what they are drilling into your head as you will believe this. This is the propaganda we are pushing to you. And it makes such a mockery of everything else. People like Nancy Pelosi are so shielded and she's so arrogant and she knows it that the American people aren't going to hold her accountable for comments like this. And she's just going to skate away and get as many years as she wants in her position. I'm hoping her time is limited because answers like that, old politics as usual, those days are over.